Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. Okay, I am absolutely thrilled to dive into today's topic with you. We're unpacking a really fascinating piece of writing from May 2018. It's by an author named Xu, and it's called A Ramble About Life. Now, Xu starts this essay off by saying that rambling is kind of like mature dandelion seeds just floating aimlessly in the wind. But hey, don't let that fool you. As we're going to see, what starts out as a light philosophical ramble actually builds into this massive, highly structured framework. It's a whole system for understanding cause, effect, and basically human behavior. So let's just jump right in and see how he puts this universe together.
Let me start by throwing a question your way. What if every single interaction you have today is actually a cosmic exam? Seriously, think about it. Your morning commute, that quick little chat with the barista, or even just a random email you shoot off to a coworker. Xu asks us to look at our daily life, literally the most mundane, totally forgettable interactions as a high-stakes test. And the examiner in all this? The greatest creator. It completely reframes how you look at a regular old Tuesday, doesn't it?
To make sense of Xu sprawling thoughts, here's our roadmap for today. First, the daily exam. Second, judging the world. Third, the law of balance. And finally, trusting the Tao. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The Daily Exam. Angels, WeChat, and the Two Doors.
So the basic premise here is that every single day we're faced with a choice between two very distinct paths. On one side, we can step toward the door to heaven, which he describes as a bright path full of beautiful flowers. Or we can step toward the door to hell, a dark, muddy path where you're forced to trudge along. And Xu argues that our ultimate destination isn't decided by, one massive life-altering event. It's actually determined by the accumulated results of our daily exams. It all boils down to how we treat people and things. He even goes so far as to say we constantly have the good fortune of meeting angels. And get this, even some total stranger in a WeChat group could literally be an angel in disguise. If you treat them poorly, well, you might just miss out on a great connection and a much brighter future.
Which brings us to the strictness of this exam. And it is strict. These are everyday, common infractions that Xu states will absolutely, inevitably, bring punishment. We're not talking about major crimes here. We're talking about things like hurting a person, ridiculing someone, giving a contemptuous look, or humiliating someone with vulgar language. Xu really drives home the point that zero actions go unnoticed. Every single thought, every little behavior, it all accumulates. You really can't take a chance and think, oh, I'll get away with this tiny insult. Nope. The cosmic exam is literally always being graded.
So, how exactly are we graded? Well, on one hand, there are obvious punishments. These are direct, easily tackable consequences to our actions. But the more insidious part? Xu connects this to our daily annoyances through what he calls invisible punishments. He explains that most punishments actually happen without leaving a trace. He uses this great analogy. Imagine you're expecting to eat a sweet ginseng fruit, but instead, you're handed sour plums. Or, say you expect a work project to go perfectly smoothly, but out of nowhere you're hit with unexplained obstacles and resistance. When you experience that kind of sudden, irritating friction in life, Xu framework suggests it's not just bad luck, it's an invisible punishment from a past failed exam. Let's move on to our second pillar, judging the world, affection, reason, and nature.
We've established that our actions are judged, right? But how are we supposed to judge the phenomena happening around us? Well, to evaluate any situation, Xu says you have to weigh three distinct factors. You have affection, which is basically human emotion. Then there's reason, representing logical rules. And finally, nature, which consists of the natural laws of the universe. It gets tricky because a phenomenon might conform perfectly to human affection, but totally violate reason and nature. Or, on the flip side, something could seem completely ruthless and lack any affection whatsoever, yet perfectly align with reason and nature. It's an incredibly complex matrix. Life is just full of these overlapping, contradictory scenarios, which essentially turns our own personal judgment into a total minefield.
Which leads us straight to this profound conclusion from the text. Therefore, it is best not to judge any phenomenon in life, because it is so unbelievably easy to misjudge a situation and accidentally cause harm. And remember from our first pillar, causing harm guarantees those pesky invisible punishments. Xu warns us to just abstain from judging altogether. Unless you somehow have the omniscient ability to perfectly balance affection, reason, and nature, which, let's face it, we don't, you are much better off just stepping back.
That brings us right to Section 3, the law of balance, the engine of cosmic justice.
If we aren't the ones judging the world, what is? Well, balance is the ultimate mechanical law governing Xu universe.
He defines it as a system where the sum of positive and negative energies always, without fail, equals exactly zero. A rise here means a fall there. A gain here means a loss there. It is highly mathematical in its precision. If you take advantage of the world, you will absolutely be balanced out by paying a price later. If your words hurt a lot of people, the cosmic balance might dictate that you actually lose your ability to talk. It's that direct.
Now, I want to pose a question to you that's going to seem totally out of left field. Ready? What is the value of existence of a pig? I know, it sounds random, but in 2017, Xuefeng traveled to Vanuatu and had this really fascinating conversation with a Mr. Steven from a group called Eden of the East, all about vegetarianism. And Xuefeng used this exact question to apply his law of balance to a real-world, highly debated topic.
So let's map out Xuefeng's highly unorthodox explanation of karmic reincarnation. In step 1, a person sins. They hurt others, take advantage, or cruelly kill a life. Because the universe demands that zero-sum balance, step 2 is that they are reincarnated as a pig to balance that specific debt. Then in step 3, they literally pay off the cosmic debt using their own hair, bones, blood, and flesh. It's only then, in step 4, that the equation is finally balanced out, allowing them to return to the human world as a human being. Based strictly on this law of balance, Xuefeng presented a pretty provocative conclusion. He frames eating meat as a kind of benevolence. Why? Because it allows the karmic debt to be repaid, which then frees the soul to reincarnate back into a human. Conversely, not eating meat is framed as a cruelty in his framework, because it prevents that repayment, forcing the soul to remain trapped in the livestock world, just carrying its burden indefinitely. Now, regardless of where you personally stand on vegetarianism, this brilliantly illustrates just how deeply and systematically Xuefeng applies his zero-sum law of balance to literally every single facet of existence.
Finally, let's pull all of this together in our fourth pillar, trusting the Tao, letting go of retaliation.
So how do we actually live day to day with all this knowledge? Well, Xuefeng outlines some incredibly strict boundaries for non-harming. He urges us to never, ever hurt anyone with our words, deeds, eyes, mouth, hands, feet, or, get this, even our thoughts. Because the law of balance is so absolute, we must never deal with a person as they deal with us. If someone attacks you, you must only ever say good words in response. Retaliating, even if it feels completely justifiable in our own minds, instantly creates an irreversible sin. It generates a negative energy debt that you are eventually going to have to pay off.
But honestly, how do you actually let go of the desire for justice when someone wrongs you? You have to understand the Tao. He explains it like this. Just as fish exist in water, people exist in the Tao. It's the all-encompassing system of operations and changes. Xuefeng says that if you feel wronged, it simply means you don't understand cause and effect. Because within the Tao, there are zero mistakes. Every single thing that happens to you is entirely appropriate based on cosmic balance. In this framework, no one is ever truly wronged.
I really want to highlight this powerful quote from the text. Divine punishments, though slow, are always sure, with big meshes yet letting nothing slip through. It means that if someone hurts you, you really don't need to retaliate. You simply hand them over to the Tao's arrangement. The universe's mesh might look super wide, and justice might seem painfully slow, but absolutely nothing, not a single contemptuous look or hurtful word ever slips through the net. The cosmic balance will always resolve itself.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to carry into your day. Knowing that the Tao misses absolutely nothing, knowing all about those invisible punishments and this uncompromising law of balance, how are you going to treat the very next person you meet? Are you going to see them as an angel? Will you make sure your words and thoughts remain pure? It's a pretty profound framework to try and apply to your own life. Thank you so much for joining me as we decoded this fascinating text today. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.